Peace to the saints. I'm giving you all a little taste of the Master Communicator course. It involves a number of sections, things like body language, which is to say, how do you communicate before you say anything? We also have a section on interpersonal communications, which is to say, talking to individuals in conversation. And of course, we have a section on public speaking. Many of these sections go quite deep. I just want to give you a little taste of the nature of the conversation that you'll get in such a course. Also, the cool thing is that we've already done some of the sessions live, which is to say only the students in the course get to be on. We go back and forth. We give a lecture. You can ask questions during. We go back and forth, and it's really an engaging experience. This course already has a bunch of content, and it'll be having content continuously dripped in for the next 2 months. So I highly recommend it. But I wanted to talk on a couple things because I noticed that increasingly, I don't know if folks are suffering autism, but we find that social skills are in such disrepair that people are accidentally causing others to not like them or not favor them. As you go through this world, whether it's in your business experience, your personal relationships with friends and family, or your romantic pursuits, you want to be able to communicate in a way that's going to get you what you want. I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks, strategies, and also mindset to help you, especially if you are a male, because the modes of communications that males and females engage in are different, and we're also perceived differently based on how we communicate within our gender. So that's my pause for you to say, Gordon writes, peace to the saints, learning from the master himself. Truly appreciate it. Shout out to those supporting the work. And if you would also like to support the work and cut out the Google Corporation, you can use the information below, which will allow you to support via PayPal or Cash App. Via PayPal, I have David sends in tuition. So the first thing I want to speak to you about is not talking about bad things that are happening to you, especially to strangers, but truthfully to anyone. The fact of the matter is most people don't care, and more importantly, they can't help you. This is really important in terms of communication to understand that there are radical differences in how genders are perceived when they are venting or complaining or speaking about something bad that happened to them. If it is a female, then it is looked upon more kindly and more sympathetically. You wouldn't look at the woman and say, oh, she's weak, she's a loser, she's helpless. No, she's a woman. Let's hear her out. Conversely, if you're a male and you're talking about bad things that have happened to you, whether consciously or subconsciously, the onlookers will think this person is weak, this person is helpless, this person is not empowered. Give me a second. I think the team is here. Send in your comments, questions right now. Okay, that was not the team. That was an Amazon delivery person who could not read the address. Anyways, as I was saying, if you're a male talking about bad things that have happened to you, people perceive you as weak, helpless. These are all traits that are the opposite of the masculinity you want to represent. And not only do other males perceive you this way, also females. This is an extremely unattractive, anti-seductive mode of communication. So then you might be asking me, Mark, what does this mean that I'm not able to express myself as a man? Kind of no. You have to be thoughtful and say, well, if I'm going through something challenging, if something bad has happened to me as a man, I have to run this information through a number of filters. Number one, the first thing you should do is write, which is to say, share it with the page. If you go to sasmbrand.com, we actually do have hardbound hardcover journals, which I recommend. So if something bad has happened to you, you should write. Deal with that information yourself first, and then you decide what you must do, what action must be taken to alleviate that situation. Now, that is okay to talk about. So say your problem is that you're obese and you just feeling really down about being overweight. The wrong thing to say if someone says, oh, hey, how do you feel? Like, oh, man, I feel like a fat slob. Oh, unattractive. No one wants to be around that. Conversely, you've written it out. Okay, I feel like a fat slob. That's how you feel. A man is action oriented. So someone says, oh, hey, how do you feel? Today, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to do 30 minutes of sweat because exercise is prayer. I want to exercise every day from now on. Radically different. You're still addressing the same thing, but you're oriented on action. Furthermore, this really goes in line with what you want people to perceive from you when you communicate to the outside world. You want to be perceived as someone who is capable, optimistic, effectively attractive, right? It's attractive when someone is capable. They can do anything. They're Superman. They're optimistic. They're positive, which means when they come around you, they are lifted up by you. And they feel that based on the way that you communicate to the outside world representing yourself. So embedded in what I'm telling you in terms of ways to not communicate, do not degrade or deride the self. So when you say, I'm fat, or I'm sick, or I'm lonely, or I'm this, or I'm struggling, or I don't have money, those are all things that degrade you. It shows a low self view, and it makes others subconsciously, what do you think they're thinking when you describe yourself with all those bad adjectives? They think, oh, I don't want to be around this guy. If that's a sickness, I don't want to catch it. Ironically, it does not solicit sympathy or help. It does not make people want to help you, and you're not telling them what they can do. So this is also great leadership. So conversely, with the first example, if you're feeling like you're fat, overweight, and you got to do something, rather than talking about that, write about your feelings, talk about your actions or your optimism. And then when you say, yeah, I'm going to go to the gym today, then someone might say, oh, I want to go with you. Or, hey, what supplements do you use? I'd like to recommend this one. Or, hey, I want to connect you with so-and-so. He's a dietitian. It positions you differently in the world. As a male in particular, you should have a can-do credo, which is very attractive, but you should always be communicating that out to the world. Let me give you a couple more highly impactful communication tips that are going to make people like you, make people believe in you, and make people want to be around you. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and take a pause for the call, see who's supporting the work. Looks like we have a grand total of one person. Shout out to Gwensley supporting, always supporting. We really appreciate that. May I also, is that everyone? No more super chats? Oh, that's crazy. Let me give you this next tip. I'm going to change seats as well. Okay, so these are in my shot, right? In my single shot, these mics?
No, the mics are in their single shot.
You said they're not?
No, they are.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
So, okay, and change angles on me real quick. Let me see the pulled out one.
This one?
I'm a little bit delayed, so just give me a moment. Okay, cool. All right, so that one looks good. Let's stay on that one for a little bit. Now, this is some communication that's excellent for interpersonal. It also works with public speaking, but this is really best suited for interpersonal communication, especially when you're trying to get someone to go along with you. I really like this one. Pay attention. Say there's something you want to tell someone or something you want them to be excited about. It's called priming. You want to prime them for the information. So generally, you want to think of your subject, the audience, the person you're talking to, and ask, what are their personal interests? What do they want to gain? What do they want to feel? How can I get them excited? One of the common tools that you can use in communication, which is really impactful, is the element of surprise or anticipation. I notice this with the best salespeople. I've been shopping for real estate, as you know. One thing I really like are those who have great presentation, not only presentation skills, but presentation. So for example, there have been times I've been going through a property with someone, and real estate agent will stop and turn to me with excitement on her face and say, and also remember, using someone's name is very seductive. It lets them know that you remember their name, you know their name, that you're talking to them specifically, you care about them. You turn, you have a look of excitement on your face, you use their name, and you hit them with this phrase: Kathy, you're really going to love this. Boom. Use their name. You look excited. You tell them you're really going to love this. And now they're thinking, what am I going to love? What are you about to show me? What's going on? You're really going to love this. And then you, boom, hit them with the information. It's priming. And anytime you do something, you should prime the subject. What you'll notice as you learn these communication tips, you'll notice that people are priming in the wrong way. Even when you have bad news, There's a way to prime the subject and make it easier to swallow. Pause. So, for example, you ever have a situation like if you have bad news to give someone, you still want to prime them and you want to get them in the best possible mood to accept bad news. Just imagine you let your girlfriend borrow your car and she, wrecks your car, gets your car in an accident or scratches one of your rims or something like this. They do this kind of thing. And she needs to break the news that she's just damaged your car. There's a way to prime, and you have to understand the subject. So say you're a woman, you just scratched your boyfriend's rim on his Bentley and you need to tell him. You could come up and say, you know what, I have some bad news. How have you primed him? You've primed him to be anxious, to be anticipating something negative. His mood just dramatically went down. Here's another way to prime. You might ask yourself before you start speaking, is there any good news? Is there anything positive about this? And is there any benefit to what I'm about to say? Also, how am I going to communicate? Because it's bad news, do I have to be sad, mad, or depressed as I communicate this? No, and I never should. So you might say, okay, well, he did mention that he actually wanted to get new rims. Okay, cool. We can make a little bit of a laugh out of this, but also give it the seriousness that it deserves. So, for example, she might say to her boyfriend, hey, honey, you know how you were talking about you wanted those new rims? Well, you're going to get the opportunity to get those new rims. I just scratched one of them. So I take full responsibility. I apologize. I can't drive, but you got the opportunity to get those new rims. But, I did scratch one of your rims. And then you take the conversation from there. You don't want to prime the person with anxiousness and negativity. Those are feelings you don't want to give them. If they choose to select those feelings, fine. But you as the speaker, you never want to give the subject negative feelings of going down. You don't want that associated with you, especially in interpersonal communication, because remember, the feelings you give someone are how they remember you. There's some persons, if you call them up, they're going to lift you up. You call them up, they're going to encourage you. You call them up, they're going to compliment you. And another great tool in language is to give sincere compliments immediately and deliver them as the gifts that they are, and make sure that people accept them. Sometimes people don't know how to accept those things. Let me go ahead and take a pause for the cause. Folks, go ahead and send in any comments, questions. We just want to take out this time to give you a couple notes on this kind of information that we provide in the Master Communicator course. Nothing too deep, just a little taste, because we want to test out some camera angles. We do want to remind you that you should tune in, because we will be live in just a little over an hour with two ladies having a very intense debate. Shout out to Tyler, writes, peace to the saints, tuition. I also acknowledge Carrie, sends in tuition. I also acknowledge Christopher, writes, pressure on YouTubers and why content is not good. Thank you. That's a video I just put up on the Saint channel. May I also acknowledge Marcos. He writes, peace to the saints, tuition. Shout out to the real ones who are confirmed. You dig? And when they come in at $50 or above, we say baller alert. And mind you, when they send those in, you can actually interrupt me. Or I guess when I take a breath. Did I not take any breaths? Okay, so you want to try it out?
Push a man IVL, peace to the saints, first time showing love. I'll have to catch this one later, but wanted to drop in realism every time you spit. Thanks for the tuition, $49.99.
Great, thank you. Yeah, baller alert indeed. You don't have to actually say the amount. If it's a baller alert, just say baller alert. And then if it's above 20, then I will read it out.
Okay.
Very well done. And one thing I want you guys to know is this, what I'm about to give you is going to increase your ability to make a good first impression. The next notes. I'm going to change seats. Feel free to send in your questions, comments, because we are in fact winding down. I'm going to tell you how to make the best first impression. Okay, so hit me with the focus camera here. So also, ladies and saints, do confirm that you can hear me on this camera. Excuse me, on this camera. You can hear me on this microphone. This particular tip I'm going to give you, I really like, because it empowers you to be the most interesting person someone has ever met at a given moment, right? So what's the mindset behind this? When we're talking about communications, I can tell you what to do, but the most important thing for me to give you is the thinking behind it. People say first impressions matter a lot. They do matter a lot. Not to say that you don't need to be consistent after that, but your mindset when going to meet someone should be like, what do I want to represent as a person? So generally speaking, I recommend that you have three different things you represent as a person, whether it's authenticity, whether it's altruism, or it's ambition, or it's coolness, whatever they may be. Pick three, no more than three. Two is better, one is best. Oh, really? Is it cutting me off? Ah, fantastic. That's precisely what we wanted to figure out. Yeah. So, and I'll adjust this afterward. Just remind me. So when you first meet someone, you should ask yourself, how can I be the most, so the superlative, the most fill in the blank that they've ever met? It should be a good thing. The happiest person they've ever met, the funniest person they've ever met, the most energetic person they've ever met. It's making an impression, making an impact. Now, how do people usually engage each other? So let none of your engagements with a stranger be casual, which is to say, you'll be walking down the street, you'll see someone, hey, how's it going? They'll be like, oh, not too bad. Or they'll say, oh, can't complain. Or I'm making it. All of these common phrases in the language that are not telling you what it is, they're telling you what it isn't. Not too bad. I can't complain. These are all what it isn't, but it's focused on negativity. No one's excited to meet you when you say can't complain, not too bad, it's going all right. No one is excited to encounter that person. That person's not memorable or remarkable. Conversely, and I don't care if you feel it or not, next time someone says, hey, how are you doing? This is the best day of my life. How are you doing? Boom, something big, something grand. It jerks them out of their zombie state. What, the best day of your life? What'd you do today? Now they're interested in you. And here's the key. Now they're interested in you. I encourage you to be as interested in them. That's great communication. They will remember you. They will be happy to encounter you. Hey, how you doing? Oh man, everything's on the up and up. I'm feeling very successful and happy. How about you? They want to know what's going on with you. They're interested. It's how you start something called attraction. That's what you're seeking to do as a human being. You want to attract others. You want them interested in you. You want them to want to be you, to want your time. Based on how you communicate, you represent if you're worthy or not of their attention. So that is why when you first encounter someone, big smile, firm handshake, strong eye contact. If you go through the Master Communicator course, we talk about smiling and not smiling. There are different scenarios for that. So if you're actually someone who purchased the course, you'll get the details on it. I'm giving you a little high-level taste here. But that will allow you to make the greatest first impression ever. Stay away from negativity. Don't talk about what you don't have. Don't tell people about the bad things that have happened to you. Don't speak of your ill health. Rather than want to mend the wound, people want to stay away from the wounded person. That is the nature of humankind. Talk about your plans, what you're going to do. Be interested to hear from others. Use grand language. Use extremely positive language. Be keen on listening. Those are the interpersonal tips that are going to allow you to create the basis that draws an attraction and all of the things that you want to succeed. Caught up on the super chats?
Yeah.
Fantastic. And let me take a look and see if we're caught up on the others as well. Shout out to Alfonso, sends in the double baller alert. He writes for the studio upgrades and lecture. I appreciate that. And shout out to the real ones because these studios are extraordinarily expensive. So I appreciate you actually supporting the work and showing love to those who show love to you. That really does mean a lot that you acknowledge that I've invested a lot of time and money to make the studio look good and personnel to operate this thing. So I appreciate that. Ladies and saints, it has been a pleasure to have this time to fellowship with you again. If you haven't clicked the subscribe button on this channel, do, but also click the bell so you get your notifications. We are in fact shadow banned. So if you're not a member at thesassin.com, THESASN.com, I highly recommend it as that will allow you to always get the content. Until next time, you can just click that end button in the upper right corner.